All right, guys, welcome back. Today we're going to do review on place value and rounding. So you should have a piece of paper in front of you, and I'll let you know when I want you to write down the information for your notes for today, and you'll be turning in just this piece of paper. You will not need book 5 today, so we will not be using that. So we're just doing a quick review, and then we'll be doing some things with this review. So the first part of it is going to be place value with decimals. So this is, again, just reviewing how these things work. So remember that your ones place, right? That's going to be this 3, right? So the ones are your normal whole number, 1 through 9. And then your tens place, that's going to be this 7, right? So ones, tens, and then when you move left, that's going to be your hundreds. Right? So 973 is how you would say that number. You know this. So the 9 means 9 hundredths, right? So which is, 900. Okay, the 7 means 7 tenths, which is 70. And then your 3 is 3 ones, which is 3. Right? So keep those things in mind. Particularly noticing these zeros are what are important as we move forward. Okay. So again, you're just kind of listening for this part. So decimals are all the spaces to the right. This whole unit is going to be about decimals. You're going to learn to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. That will be the focus. So remember that when we go right, we are dividing by 10 every time, just like what was going on above. Notice how you go down a place value every time you move to the right. So here you started at 900, here you have 70, here you have 3. If we were to go to the left, let's just make up a number, that would be 3,000, right? And that would have 3 zeros. But every time you're moving to the right, you're technically dividing by 10, and that's important to know. So this tenths, is technically 1 over 10, right? So that is what that means. Now this hundredths really means 1 over 10 divided by 10. And that is how you find the hundredths, right? And then your thousandths, it technically is 1 over 100 divided by 10, right? And that's going to give you your thousandths. Okay, so just a little review with why the decimals are what they are. Okay, so here we have an example, 973.526. So this 5 really means 5 tenths, or we could say 0.5, or we could write it 5 over 10. So decimals and fractions, they're the same thing. They're equal, right? One is written as a decimal, one is written as a fraction. So this 2 hundredths, technically speaking, you would write it like that. And if you were to write it as a fraction, it would be 2 over 100. And then this 6 thousandths, right? This is how you would write this, 0.00, and that's a 6. And that fraction would be 6 over 1,000. Okay, so now this is a place value chart, right? So this is what you need to know. These are the place values that are important for 6th grade. And this is a very good chart for you. So if you look at this, Khan Academy and your practices today are going to be where you just are telling me the place value of a number. So for example, if I were to say, what is the place value of the 6? You would tell me that it is the tenths. So the number that is closest to the decimal to the right, that is always the tenths. And you're going to need to memorize these. There's no easy way here. And then the place value of the 7, let's say I asked you that 7 would be 10 thousandths, right? That would be your answer. If I said, what's the place value of the 8? You are going to need to know that is the tenths, right? And then let's just say I said, what's the place value of the 4? That 4 would be the thousandths, right? So anything to the right has that THS at the end. That's how I memorize it. And then everything to the left is how you normally would say a number, tens, hundreds, thousands, anything like that. But I know that the majority of you know this. Okay, so now we're gonna kind of switch up here and we're gonna do rounding. So now we're gonna refresh on how to round with a decimal. So we round decimals just like we round whole numbers. So this little chart here is important to know. And if you don't know that, you should write that down on your notes right now. But the rounding rule is if the number is between 5 and 9, you always round up. If the number is between 1 and 4, you always round down. Okay, so we can round to the nearest whole number, 10th, 100th, tens, hundreds, whatever, right? We can round any of these numbers. And this is the order that it goes. So if you don't know the order that it goes, this little chart would be good for you to write down and maybe highlight if you don't know your place value chart. Okay, so now your homework and the things we're gonna do in class right now are gonna be just like what you see. So what I would like you to do is this is where you should start writing on a piece of paper. So just kind of write for me these numbers, the 1.47, write that down, and then we're gonna round it together while you watch the video. And I have a bunch of examples that are gonna follow that you're gonna write down. So the question is round to the nearest 10. So here's the tenths. So when you round, you wanna look to the number that's to the right of it. So that's 7. And you need to decide, well, is 7 gonna be rounded up or down? And the rule is 7 rounds up. So that means this 4 will round up. So you would write 1.50. So that would be that number rounded to the nearest tenth. So you should write down 1.47 and 1.50. Okay? All right, so now we move on. We're still rounding to the nearest tenth. So remember that 6 is what we're gonna round. But when you round, you always look for the number that's to the right. So that hundreds place, that 4, is what we're gonna pay attention to. And that 4 is smaller than 5. So that 4 is gonna round down. So your answer would be 1.60. So you should write 1.64 and 1.60 on your piece of paper. And then again, I have another example. Round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so we care about this one, but the number that we're gonna look at is to the right, right? That's 7. That 7 is gonna round up. Well, this 9, that's the highest you can go. So that's gonna round that up. So it would become 5.00. Okay, so that is the nearest tenth. So make sure you write that down. Now we're gonna switch it up. Now we're gonna do the nearest hundredth. So write down on your paper 6.431. And we care about the hundredth place, but what we look at is that number to the right. Okay, so this is gonna round down. So your answer is gonna be 6.430. That's a decimal, sorry. Okay, so write down the numbers. Okay, so now you're gonna write 8.589. And we're looking for the hundredths, right? So this is what we care about. And this is what's gonna determine if we go up or down. Well, that rounds up, right? So this becomes 8.590. This 8 rounded up. Okay, and then now we're gonna do the nearest whole number. So for most of you, this is what you're used to doing. So we have 4.78. You'll write that down. So now if I care about the whole number, I care about the ones. And what's going to determine what I do is going to be to the right. So that 7 is going to round up. So my answer would be 5.00. So that 4 rounded up. Okay, here we go again. Round to the nearest whole number. So you're looking at the ones, but the tenth is going to tell you what to do. And that's going to be round down. So your answer would be 6.00. So write down the numbers. And then here is your last one. So you're going to round the nearest whole number, and you pay attention to the tenths. That's going to round down. So your answer would be 9.00. Okay, so you're going to join the meet, and we're going to practice this.